Hey guys, welcome to vesnasstv. Thank you so much for stopping by. For today's video, I'm making a whole bunch of signs for outdoors. So let's get started. So my signs are pool themed because we have a swimming pool. You can always, switch the wording up to be cottage or porch or barbecue, whatever you would want. So for the first two signs, actually, I'm starting off with this bigger piece of wood. Now, it's just an old piece of plywood. I'm working with all sorts of scrap wood that we have. And for this scrap piece of wood, I'm going to be cutting it in half. But because I'm doing this late at night, kiddos are sleeping, I can't use the saw. So I'm just going to sand it down, prep it, paint it how I want to, and then in the morning, myself or my husband will cut it. Probably him because he tends to not. He gets worried when I use any kind of equipment because I am very accident prone. So I just start off by giving it a light sand just to get any of the pieces of wood that are kind of like sticking out or whatever off, just to make it a little bit smoother. I'm not making it super smooth. This is like construction grade plywood, so I mean you probably could sand it down quite a bit and it would still be fairly rough, but this just makes it a little bit smoother than it was. It cleans it up nice, and then I just start painting. And I'm using the Rust-Oleum chalk linen white as my base for this, and then I'll be adding some acrylic colors to it as well. So half of the sign will be like an aged rustic white with black distressed sign, and the other half will have like a fading ombre effect, I guess, of green and blue. So I'm just using the forest green acrylic paint, and I'm just lightly putting on a little bit and then rubbing it in with a baby wipe. And then I do the same with the Pacific blue, and I just rub it all in. And now it'll give me kind of three stripes, one white, one blue, and one green. Now you'll notice that I left a little bit at the top of there uncovered, like not painted, and that it's a little bit, that white part is a little bit bigger. It's because I'm going to be cutting it off because the edges were very rough. I wanted to cut them off so they would be nicer, and they weren't even. So after I blended in the green and blue, I dry brushed some black over top of the white, and then I went over it with my baby wipe as well, just to kind of blend it in, make it look distressed and old looking. So then I went and I used my Cricut to write down the wording. For the white sign, I used American typewriter. For the multicolored sign, I used American typewriter as well as Easy November. And you'll see why I used Easy November. Easy November is like a cursive font. And I got all these fonts from DaFont. So if you're interested in them, they're there. And I applied my stencil to here, and then I just stenciled it in. I did not glue on the vinyl. I used the shelf liner actually is what I used as my stencil. And I always say this in my videos when I'm doing signs or stencils, always use transfer paper to put your vinyl or stencil on, because the vinyl stretches and so does the shelf liner, so you don't want it to stretch and be all like the shape to get deformed. And make sure you glue it on really, like, when you're sticking it on, you take your time to really stick it on so that pieces aren't coming up because it'll bleed then. And then use a dabber like I'm using here, or there's a stenciling brush from the Dollar Tree, or you can even use makeup sponges or any kind of sponges to just dab it on. You don't want to do too much paint. You're better off doing several coats than doing a lot because it will bleed. And I use black acrylic paint for all of these, for both signs, and I can't wait to show you what they look like when they're done. I'm so happy with the way they turned out. So here they both are finished. I have them displayed under my deck. I love the way they turned out. The the blue and the green is very faint on this one, which is how I wanted it, and this one just looks awesome. I love them. So on to the next one. So here's another scrap piece of wood, which is a fence board, pressure treated fence board that we had left over from a previous project. And I'm going to be painting it as well in the Rust-Oleum chalk linen white. And then I will be using my stencil on it. Now, I did make a mistake. I put the wrong stencil on the wrong piece of wood, so I had to kind of change around what I was going to do. It still turned out really nice, but it just wasn't what I originally planned. So I planned this one to be kind of like an aged white, but then I wound up changing it around, which actually turns out to be a good little tutorial. So turned out okay. Because I wanted this sign to have a certain look, I didn't go with the white as I planned because I wanted the other sign to be white. So I applied this decorative glaze from Rust-Oleum, which if you've watched my videos, I use this a lot to stain things. And I just put it on this board to give it like the look of stained wood. I could have flipped around the board and just done it on the other side, but I kind of wanted to see if I could make it work. So this way, if you guys have a painted piece of wood and want to have it look like wood, it kind of gives you an idea of how to do it. So I just, rub on, rub off as much as I need to get it nice and dark. After I applied the two coats, I still feel like it's not dark enough, so I add a little bit of black acrylic paint, and then I use my wood grain tool just to give the illusion of it being wood and not paint underneath. And it just, I love the way it turns out. It looks like old wood, but not like painted old wood, but just like perfectly aged old wood, at least in my opinion. Then I apply the stencil, which is Eat, Sleep, Swim, and I put on white, like Rust-Oleum chocolate and white paint on here. And again, I dab it on like I do with the other ones. And for this font, I used the lemon font, DK Lemon, I believe it is. Again, from Font. It's like the most similar, in my opinion, to Rae Dunn font, kind of. So that's what I was kind of going for. And here it is all finished. Now I am not protecting these signs because they are not going to be out in the elements. They're under a covered deck, so they'll be fine, but I love the way this one turned out. So if you guys haven't been to my channel before, thank you so much for stopping by. On my channel, you can see all sorts of home decor, DIYs on a budget. I really try to make everything look high-end or higher end, and I try to do it all on a budget. I love decorating my house, and I love changing up the decor, and that gets really expensive, so I try to kind of make it work with things around the house or things from the Dollar Tree. So if you are interested in that kind of stuff, make sure you hit that big subscribe button. Give me a big thumbs up and let me know that you stopped by in the comments below. And make sure you hit that notification bell because that'll let you know every time I post a new video. Right now, it's usually Sundays and Tuesdays. Thank you so much, and let's move on to the next DIY. So this next sign is the one that I made a mistake on. So I had originally stained it wanting to put the Eat, Sleep, Swim, Repeat on there, but I accidentally put the wrong stencil on and did it, and then I just glued in after. So I went with it, and that's why I made the other one. I had to go over top of the other one. But for this one, what I did was I just applied the Rust-Oleum glaze, decorative glaze, and I just did I kept on applying until I got the darkness that I wanted. I think it was about 2 times I went over it. But I didn't let it dry or anything in between. I just applied it, rubbed it off, and then put it a little bit more and rubbed it off. And that was all there is to it. It looks really nice when you do it on raw wood as well. So you can kind of see what that looks like. And I always just use scrap pieces of cloth. I think these are old pajamas, so I just kind of cut them up to what I need, and that's what I use. You don't have to spend any money. Just use old clothes if you're not going to use them or if they're garbage. And so this will just be a sign that says pool towels. Now this one is partially complete. As you guys know, we're in a lockdown still here in Ontario, and it's just been kind of extended until the 14th. It was supposed to be done on the 2nd, but they're kind of letting us, yeah, it's a weird system. But anyway, so I can't buy hooks for the towel, like for this. So once we open, then because I want to go into the store and I want to kind of look at what they have. Sometimes online isn't the best way to shop. I like to kind of go in and kind of pick around. And there's certain stores that I like to go to. We have some liquidation stores, and those don't have very good shop online websites. So once those are open, like once we can buy the essentials in those stores, then I will get some hooks for this. And I want to get hooks that are either stainless steel or plastic that you can screw on kind of from the back and have them hang down for this. But anyway, when I was cutting the pool towels, I accidentally put too short of a stencil on, so it says pool towel, and then I just did an S separately. Okay, so then I just dabbed on the Rust-Oleum chocolate and white paint on here like I did with the other ones, and that's all there is to it until we're out of lockdown. And then I'll show you guys maybe in like an Instagram post or something what it looks like all finished. So here it is partially finished, and I really think it looked cute. Can't wait to add the little hooks and hang it up. Now this last sign I kind of threw in as a bonus. If you watched some of my videos from last year, you would have seen that I made this sign last year, but I did not protect it and I left it. Actually, it was fine all winter and it was fine outside, but we were pressure washing the deck upstairs and I moved it. However, I moved it in the path of the water. I don't know how. So it took off the red paint, so the swim at your own risk. So I'm just fixing it, and then I'm going to, because I'm moving them, they're not going to be under the deck anymore. They are, but it's not completely covered. So I will be protecting them with some varathane just so that they keep. But I mean, it doesn't really matter. I can just redo them next year. Maybe I'll change them to something else, but I will protect them just so I don't have to, and so I don't have to remove them. And they are on pressure treated plywood, so they'll be fine in that sense. It's just to protect the paint. So I just cut out the swim at your own risk from my sign before, and I just dabbed on some red paint. And I'll just show you what both of those signs look like at the end, and I will also show you I'll link a video of how I set them up last year. I never actually recorded myself making them. So this year I moved them and I put them on here. It's just underneath the stairs of my deck, and it'll give a little bit more privacy from the neighbors. Not that we need it, we like our neighbors, but it's just a little bit, it'll look a little bit less barren, that you don't feel like you're in their backyard. And here are all of the other signs all set up under my porch, under my deck. Just missing the pool towel sign, which, like I said, I'll show you probably on Instagram. So let me know what you think. I love the way they turned out. I love how they look up here, and it just gives a little bit more personality underneath our deck. And thank you so much for stopping by. Have a great day, stay safe, and we'll see you on Tuesday for my next video. Thanks, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed.